remember something, to keep in mind something that you feel very grateful for. And this is only an excuse to remember that feeling of gratitude. And we want to stay the 3 minutes in that feeling. When we are in that feeling of gratitude and we say inwardly, Alhamdulillah, thanks and praise be to God, let's remember who God is, depending on your situation. If you feel weak, then you can remember that God is the Almighty, Al-Aziz, He's the powerful, Al-Qadir. If you feel you need healing, then He's Al-Shafi, Al-Mu'afi, He's the healer. If you feel unsafe, then remember that He alone is the protector, the guardian, the Al-Hafid, and so on. Whatever your need is, there is only one source that can take care of it, and that's when we say Alhamdulillah, that's Allah is all that. So we need to keep this in mind, because sometimes people can't fully be present with that feeling of gratitude because there is lurking in the background a fear of something known or unknown, or feeling unsafe, feeling whatever. So wherever we feel like that, we need to remember that nothing happens except by His will. Okay, inshallah. So let me start the timer. Bismillah. So everyone remembered something to be grateful for. You found that feeling. Inshallah, you'd be familiar with it by now if you've been practicing, and you'd better practice. When we take time to do these practices, we are not taking time off, we are adding to our time, we are adding to the quality of our life, inshallah, not only for the hereafter, but here and now too. Bismillah. So start. And you breathe slowly and just immerse and enjoy that feeling and that connection to the Almighty, the all-powerful, the all-merciful, the all-compassionate, the source of all your needs. Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah, I think Isra must have mentioned it. We're starting the 11th word, which is a treatise, a section from the Tafsir of Imam Badi'u Zaman Sa'id al-Nursi, rahimahullah. May Allah bless his soul. Normally, when we meet physically here in Philadelphia, we read together his tafsir. Practically, the approach that I follow in studying the Quran and therefore the world, nature, everything else is based primarily on the work on this tafsir called Risalat al-Nur, the Treatise of Light, which is written by Imam Badi'u Zaman Sa'id Nursi. And the words is the first volume of this huge tafsir. And it starts with Bismillah, the first word. And this is now the 11th one. Now you will see that it is not formatted in the classical way. There are various formats for tafsirs, commentaries. It starts with here the 7 first verses of Surah Al-Shams, the surah that's called the Shams, the sun. It's the 91st chapter, and it has 15 ayah, and these are the 7 first ones. And so we will go through what he is teaching us, and then we will come back and ask ourselves, what is the relationship of what he's saying with the ayat at the beginning, with the Quranic passage at the beginning, inshallah. So it starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها. By the sun and its radiant brightness, and the moon as it reflects the sun, by the day as it reveals the world, by the sky and its wondrous make, and the earth and all its expanse, by the human self and that which has made it. Very powerful passage. So it starts now when we are starting, for instance, it says brother. Now let's not, I had people say, why brother? First, this is a translation from Turkish. Turkish is gender neutral. There is no he, she, there is no brother, sister. So here brother is actually in the original kardeş, which means sister, brother. So let's not limit ourselves to why is he talking to brothers. I had people stop me there and we couldn't go on because of that. So just to make it clear that it is gender neutral and it doesn't matter if it's brother or sister, as long as we understand the message, inshallah. So here we're saying, brother, if you want, maybe instead of me reading it, how about each one of us reads the text until, Isra, have you looked? The first, respect the other, until the first group. Shall we read until the first group?
So everybody is reading silently, is that?
Yeah, if we do that, it will be better. Then I can go, and as we are reading, we can all. So this, let's normally, when you read yourself, you're more engaged with the text first. Second, it's not me reading, explaining only. When we have these meetings, everyone chips in, everyone says what they think.
Yeah, so this is more like a discussion, a text understanding together. Of course, we will learn from Dr. Yamina, but we're expecting a discourse where she will present, and then at the end we will make comments or questions. This isn't that type. It's more like we're discussing together, inshallah.
It will be more beneficial if you take part in the discussion, so that we will start it wherever you are, because maybe I was there a long time ago and I don't always remember that I had those questions as well. And so I may just not engage them, or might not be aware that you have those questions. So you need to bring them out, either as question, as comment, as whatever. Just please contribute to the discussion, inshallah. So let's take a few minutes to read until the first group.
And not all of it is visible on the screen at this time, but I shared the link with everyone again, so you can click the link and read it from there.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, Bismillah. Are we done reading, inshallah?
So where were we supposed to stop? I forgot our stopping point. So where was our stopping point?
The first group.
Oh, the first group. Okay. So once we finish the first group, okay.
No, the first, when it says the first group, we stop there.
Oh, okay.
We discuss and then carry on.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so yes, at least I've reached there.
So you can see that it's a metaphor, and later on, the author will explain to us what each thing in the metaphor means in reality, but we can guess.
Yeah. So for me, when I was reading it, because like I read that before a long time ago with you also, and Isra, what came to me right now is that the metaphor, like the king, like it's deficient. This metaphor is deficient because I'm thinking of it, it's not just any king who wants to be known, it's like it is the one who's been taken care of. Let's say this is the king who's been taking care and giving and providing and attending to tales of everyone. And as like, so if you think of the king's like family and subjects, Adam and Eve, they knew him very well, like the first people who knew very well. But as the families became bigger and time, like, people did not know him. So now he's like, and he's realizing also that the people that are there, they are suffering from not knowing him, and they're feeling lonely, and they're feeling lost, and they're feeling there's no meaning. So now he's like, that's why he's saying, why do you feel lost? All of this is there, but there's like, it's not just like the way I read it now, it feels like as if hasha lillah, as if the king gets benefits from people knowing him, while in reality it is the subjects of the king who benefit from knowing that they're taken care of, that they're not alone. So the metaphor, when I read it this time, felt like I did not have that feeling before. Now I have that feeling. That was my...
Let's keep in mind first, when it's a metaphor, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, as we are told in the Quran. In the Quran also we are given example metaphors, and we are told وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, like God is above any metaphor, but still he gives us metaphor. Why? To make it
understand
easier for us. Now, once we understand what's going on, the next step will be to go beyond it, to transcend the metaphor. But we need that. It's like Imam Nursi said, it's like a telescope to make you see something, a truth that is so far from us right now, to make it closer. So it's a means. So a metaphor is never, that's why it's called metaphor. It's not the exact thing. So it is making a truth closer to us from one perspective. It can't cover all perspective. It wouldn't be a metaphor, it would be the truth itself. The second thing is, here it is true that the creation looks to us from one perspective, though, only. Imam Nursi explains this in another place, in the 24th letter. There is another volume called The Letters, the next volume. And there, so he explains how, from one aspect, if we look at the creation of anything, it looks to us because we are conscious and we see it and appreciate it. But from another aspect, it looks to the beautiful names and to the creator, because there are so many things that most people are not aware of. For instance, a very simple example, the depth of the oceans. Now, slowly, we get some documentaries and we see how amazing, how wondrous and wonderful the creation is there, the colors, the shapes, and everything. Now, if we say it's for conscious beings or for human beings are most of the time not there, they're not aware of it. So there is something that is beyond us. We are not at the center of the universe in this sense. Everything doesn't revolve around us. From one aspect, it looks to us. From another aspect, it looks to something else. And there is a third level that I don't want to address now, because it's not only that it is wondrous and amazing in all different kinds of names, but it's also changing. Everything is changing all the time. So definitely there are things that are well beyond our conception. We cannot even, and it makes sense, because if we could encompass the purposes and the wisdom of creation, we wouldn't be at awe, we wouldn't be in prostration and in sajda before it. So there are things, and that's why we need, we feel the need for guidance, we feel the need for revelation, we feel the need, why is this, like, what's the purpose in all this? We have to listen to God himself revealing who he is, what the wisdom and purpose of the creation is, what the purpose and creation of our own creation is. Remember in the beginning, how does he say? If you want to understand a little, he is not saying you will understand everything. First, because we are at the beginning, if we are still reading this. Second, because however much we internalize this message and we reflect and ponder and worship and internalize all this wisdom and live with it, still we are created. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. We are only given whatever I know is however much is given to me. I cannot produce anything from myself. And that's why he says, if you want to understand a little about the talisman or the wisdom of the world. So the wisdom of the world is not so clear. It is a talisman. The more you start reflecting about it, the more you realize that we don't know unless it is revealed unto us. How would we know? So the talisman of the creation, the wisdom of the creation of the world, and the riddle, which is a little bit close to talisman, of human beings' creation. So there is the world is huge. We cannot reach the end, because if we reach the end, what is after? Even in our imagination cannot go outside the created world. And so it gives us a sense of what infinity is, although everything in this world is finite and limited. We learn through the contrast, of course, as well, but also through the abundance of everything and the vastness of everything. And so there is also the riddle of human creation. And when these two are tied together, the wisdom of the creation of the world and the creation of human being are tied together. And the mystery of the reality of the salat, the prescribed prayers. Because only then we will understand the meaning or some of the meanings of prostrating before God, praising God, being at awe before him, bowing before him, being grateful to him, praising him with his beautiful names. To that extent, we will, and also the need of having them prescribed, because whoever created us knows that we forget, and so he has given us this 5 times a day, and we realize how a great of a blessing this 5 times daily is. And not only it is a blessing to remember, but it's also an invitation, an opportunity to stand in the presence of this magnificent creator, the maker, our Rab, our sustainer. He is inviting us in his presence. Like Alia, you like to say, like not only VIP, VVIP.
Dr. Yamin, I wanted to just highlight here what I find most compelling in, one of the things I find most compelling in Imam Nursi's Tafsir is how it connects, like in this very sentence, the wisdom, mystery, secret of why the world is made is connected to the reason why as a human being I am made, and that's connected to prayer. Because we tend to receive in everyday kind of wisdom as if these are separate things, you know, like you figure out the meaning of the world or why it exists, it's a separate thing. Maybe science answers it, or some parts of the Quran might answer it, but it's separate from why you have to pray. And it's also separate from why Adam and Eve are made and how they are sent to this world. I mean, some books don't do that, but many books tend to kind of disconnect the three, either in the name of science or in the name of philosophy or in the name of religion. And here, it's all connected. If you want to understand why you are made, if you want to understand why the universe is made, and if you want to
appreciate, let's say,
respond to this quality,
and also appreciate the salat,
and salah is a way of responding to this. It's not an additional layer. It's a why am I to pray? The truth, it says the reality, the truth, haqaiq of prayer, because it's the way to respond to reality. It's not an added burden. If I understand, the more I understand myself as a human being and my place in this universe and the meaning of this universe, the more prayer feels the most appropriate response. Going to sajda, prostration, becomes the most appropriate response to this reality. So, I mean, we will see later, as you said, inshallah, when we come back, how it's already, all of this is embedded in the Quranic passages here, because it moves seamlessly from the human being to human self and so on. But we don't always notice it. So I'm already excited with the first sentence.
The same thing happens when you read the Quran sometimes, like in this passage, for instance, it starts with the sun, the moon, the day, the night, the firmament, the earth, and then by the soul. And usually it is explained as they are qasam. How would you call qasam? Not swearing.
Swear.
Oath.
Yeah.
Oath. It's an oath.
Yeah.
Yes, but like God does not use, in each passage, the oaths are different. In another one, it's watini wa zaytun, by the fig and the olive. Why here it's not the fig and the olive, and it's from the sun to the human soul? There is a wisdom in this order, and in one following the other, inshallah. So let's keep in mind that these things are not, it's not like haphazardly God is mentioning the sun and the day and everything, just like that, randomly, inshallah. All these things are all related, and they are all relevant to who we are here and now. And it's not only relevant because it's telling me something about, it's not only I will know the meaning. That meaning is like food for the soul, just like the body needs food and water and air. The soul needs meaning and purpose and higher meaning, not meaning just a meaning that doesn't have a true future, because that's not true meaning. It needs a meaning that relates it to its source, to the source of everything, to the something infinite, because we are created with that need for infinite, or at least we are aware in the beginning, even if we're not aware of that, we are aware that we are scared of separation, scared of anything, of death, of anything that perishes. So it means there is a deep dislike in us, and we are created with that longing for the things we love, we want them to last. That lastingness, we need to find its source. And it makes us very joyful, very grateful. And it's like it adds purpose, meaning, and joy, and all kinds of whatever you call it. It's a different, it's not of matter, but it's something more energetic that you feel, but you cannot see, but you definitely, we feel it, we taste it, we breathe it. Let us say the soul tastes it and breathes it and feeds on it, inshallah. So we carry on with who wants to carry on with the example of the king here?
Do you mean, what do you mean carry on?
What is said here, and then we will see what you think about it, inshallah, as we do as usual.
Dr. Yamina, I have a question about what he means by this short comparison, together with my own soul, at the very end, in that paragraph. I'm not quite sure how that fits in.
Oh, in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning.
Consider this short. It means the audience, whoever it is. For instance, if I am reading, the author is telling me, let's consider, he's inviting me to consider, or inviting us in this case, to consider the comparison that's coming below, together with himself. He's not saying, I wrote this, it doesn't apply to me, you read it and benefit from it. He's saying, I was inspired with this, and I'm rereading it with you and relearning it just like you. So he's applying it to himself too. He doesn't deem himself outside the whatever the benefits we get from it.
So he's learning from it also at the same time that he's written it. Yeah.
I mean, it means even if you read it 20 times, the 21st time you still learn something from any passage in the Quran. You can't say, I read it many times, I know what it means now, because each time it's going to speak to you, to your new situation, because we keep changing, the world keeps changing, so the message is going to unfold in a different way each time.
I see, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in the second paragraph, he says, one time there was a king. Here, the king is just a metaphor. As wealth he had. So here, the king is very wealthy, but he is also very knowledgeable and very skillful. He's not making other people work for him, because in the case of this metaphor, God creates everything himself. Everything else is created. So he doesn't create by means of something. So he's saying he has treasuries, diamonds. It means a lots of precious, because everything in the creation is precious, and jewels of every kind. Besides this, he had other hidden wondrous treasures. So there are treasures that everyone knows about and other hidden ones. And by way of attainment, he had consummate skill in strange arts and encompassing knowledge. Sometimes the English a little bit, I wish I could just read from the original, because sometimes some words are a little bit weird. I don't know exactly what he means. Isra, can you follow from the Turkish?
Yes.
Consummate.
Sanayi garibe, fununu acibe.
Okay, so what's
I think it translated as strange, but could also mean.
It means wondrous. It doesn't mean strange.
Yeah. I think one thing to add is that, you know, when I first read it as a king, I have all these negative connotations with king, but here I think now that you pointed out, there's no reference to the king and his servants. It's more like this person who has this incredible hidden wealth and hidden artistry and skills. And king, maybe he's only using as, you know, in the old times, king was self-entitled. He was the king because he was the king, not because he was elected, or not because he was king because, like, royal means he's going to be, but not.
Also, he is a symbol of authority and power, and
then a power that doesn't depend on the subject, and being elected every 4 years, and so like he entitled to it. Now, of course, as when we look for democracy, we don't consider that as actually good, but I think he doesn't at all see it as in that context. It's more here as a person who has immense self-owned, not indebted to anyone, immense wealth and beauty.
And here he doesn't have only wealth, but he said he has also great erudition in endless branches of learning. So he's also very knowledgeable, very artful. I mean, there is no such a king in reality.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, Yamina, I think the word, like you were saying, is also the word king, like, and what we have, like what we add to the word. So the word Rabb is also it's a word that's used in Arabic that not only refers to Rabb al-Alameen, to God, but Rabb is the caregiver, is the one, like the. So like, I don't know, if we like, if I, in my head, if I change the word king to Rabb, then it makes more sense. Like the Rabb is the one who's taking care, who's providing, but that Rabb is unique in that he is vast and abundant and owns all wisdom and beauty and vastness and mercy and compassion, and gives them. Then it makes it easier for me to understand. Like, I think the word king for
king could be ruler. King,
Rabb. That's why Rabb. Yeah.
Rabb is in Arabic. Yeah. In Arabic, the host of the house is Rabb al-Bayt, Rabbatul Bayt.
Yes.
The captain of the ship is
Rabb al-Safina. Yes. Yeah.
So it's the Lord, the host, the ruler. So here, instead of king, we can have
I know.
But we can't have Rabb because we don't want to mix up languages. Yeah.
So that's when you come to that conclusion, you know what you're talking about, that you're talking about Rabb. Okay, Bismillah.
Like Melik, now that you mentioned Ali, Melik al-Muqtadir is mentioned in the Quran as well.
Yeah, of course,
Because when you say ruler, it immediately calls to mind that there are people who are ruled.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But this is to explain why this king even opens himself up to the subject. You know, like
actually, king is a name of God in the Quran, right?
Yeah, and I guess like we should not be blocked, like the whole wisdom will unfold. So if we can just like move on, make it block us, the wisdom of this will unfold instead of getting stuck and not moving.
Because if we are going to get stuck, not only the word king, but the word Rabb, Lord, in English. Lord, there is the whole feudal system that's worse than king. That is
Yes,
associated.
very true, very true. Depends which part of the world have you been raised in. Yes.
And Lord is used all the time to translate Rab, for instance, in the Quran. So let's,
Okay,
inshallah,
yes, let's
go beyond the limits of languages.
Now, so Yamina, you were asking this paragraph, what we think about this paragraph. Does anybody else have anything to share?
Yes, inshallah. So what is important? This king or ruler or whatever, or Rab, he is very wealthy and he has wondrous treasures that are open and hidden. He has an all-encompassing knowledge. He has knowledge of many sciences and many arts. And now, what is more important is when he says now, like every possessor of beauty and perfection, he wants to see and display his own beauty and perfection. That glorious ruler, king / Rab, wanted to open up an exhibition and set out displays within it in order to make manifest and display in the view of the people the majesty of his rule, his glittering wealth, the wonders of his art, and the marvels of his knowledge. So he is not only opening a display of just his power and wealth. No, because he also has knowledge and art and sciences and other things. Because again, we have this, like if someone is showing off his wealth or power, we think that's not good. But if someone is displaying his art, his knowledge, if someone writes beautiful poetry or beautiful paintings or beautiful novels or something very useful in science or medication or medicine or something, we think that's very praiseworthy. So that's why he's saying he has all of them. He's not your typical king who is displaying just power, showing off. He is displaying all his art, the marvels of his knowledge, so that he could behold his beauty and perfection into respect. So far, if we are together, we can go to the two respects. Are we okay? Does it make sense that every possessor of beauty and perfection wants to see and display his own beauty and perfection? How do we know that? Because we've been made with that. We have it within us. We don't question it because we think, yes, if you have something, it wants to come out. And when it does not, you feel always restless. Something needs to come out. It's like a plant now. The trees are all their buds, and you expect it to the flowers to come, and then the fruits on the greenery and whatever follows.
I think one way I relate to this is when somebody is very skillful in what they do. There are degrees of skills, but somebody is like really gifted. Let's say a person is gifted in painting or playing music. That person's the more gifted the person is, the more it just flows from them, and they just enjoy it. They're not doing it
to show off. No.
Yeah, to show
to go out. It wants to go out.
They just want to kind of do that, and also like in I don't want to diverge so much, but
like seeing or breathing or
like another thing is like the virtues. Like if the person is genuinely generous in her heart, then when she gives, it's not so that somebody will say thank you. I mean, no, I'm not saying not against thank you. just in this context, that person gives just because she enjoys giving, and then she doesn't make plans. If I give this to you, then you will maybe do this favor for me. Like, she doesn't have all of that, even though she might need that from you at a different time. But that person just comes, that generosity comes from her.
Oh,
She just enjoys giving it. Or if somebody is very fond of has a particular taste. Let's say my sister, for instance, when the guests come and when I put out the kind of the whatever we have on the plate, she's like this, you put it like this, wait a second. She takes out the other plate and then she says, well, no, you
decorate it or
decorate the plate, and then she doesn't do it so that they will tell that, oh, how amazing. They won't even know. I usually take the plate in. It's about she has a taste and she wants to kind of manifest that. The food should be
presented beautifully
in this beautiful day, like, because she has that taste, she wants to manifest that. And it isn't about, I know we human beings, we get so much into trying to get attention, and that we have that as well, but I'm saying those moments where the person is still genuinely gifted in that area and skillful, you see that it comes out because it wants to manifest. That beauty wants to manifest. And I know I'm talking too much. I'm not going to talk as much, but one more thing. This is an example that was mentioned in one of the halakas long time ago. And it was saying, like, when you look at the scene and that's beautiful, you immediately want to call somebody else. Like, is there anyone else? Can you come and see this as well? And the idea in the
what you want to share.
You want to share. It's like, if that person also sees that beautiful sunset, what does it do?
Yeah,
it doesn't increase your taste.
Or sometimes even like you have food and it tastes very good, or someone brought something nice. You want someone to be there and also share
Facebook.
Otherwise, it's not.
Yeah, like this beautiful scene, you want to share it with everyone. And why is that? Because beauty wants to manifest. Mm-hmm. It isn't simply because you want to get likes. Beauty wants to manifest, wants to be shared. Yeah. But anyhow, I'm talking too much. Is there anyone else who wants to chime in, either kind of summarize what you are hearing or respond to it in any way? Mm-hmm.
Well, I sort of see this as a kind of a manifestation of creation, and then suddenly there's sort of like this self-consciousness with the idea that there is another. It seems that the king is professing that there's somebody else that is looking at his creation, her creation. So I see sort of a kind of a beginning of a duality almost.
Where is the duality again? Sorry.
Just with the so that he himself could behold them with his own discerning eye. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's sort of the first kind of recognition of his creation. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of just see it that way, that perhaps there's a moment of self-reflection and then trying to see what the creation is looking at. What he created is actually looking at.
So we are reading the first respect and the other, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Anyone else? Any response to this?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I don't know if this goes like against, I know we're talking about the special king here, because in general, when people have something valuable, treasuries, it's not, especially diamonds and emeralds, it's not very common that people want to display necessarily, those things. So I don't know what we...
Sorry, they don't want to display?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you think diamonds and emeralds? Yeah.
Oh, here he's not displaying the diamond and emeralds as they are. He's making them into special jewelry and things. So he's displaying his art more than the diamond and jewelry. And it's let's keep in mind that this is a metaphor. We're not talking about your average guy, because why we don't display? Because we hide them, because we are afraid that someone will steal them.
Mm.
So here the emeralds and the jewels will be, Isra was sharing, everyone's has some abilities, some skills, something like that. And that's why he added that he had knowledge and he knew lots of sciences and arts. And so he is actually displaying the beauty and perfection of his art. He's exhibiting the art. Those emerald and diamond are not just put just like that.
No competitor there.
Yeah. And there is no one is trying to steal or anything.
Okay.
So here it's about, the author is saying, again, it's a metaphor. It will be applied to God later. In the first respect, he did all this so that he could behold his beauty and perfection in two respects. The first one is he himself could behold them with his own discerning eyes. Let's say if you are an amazing artist, painter artist, you paint all these things and you hold an exhibition. And then now, while you are doing it, as Isra was saying, already it's flowing from you. You're being inspired, you enjoy it, you look at it, you admire what's coming. But there is the second one. So he's beholding them himself with his own discerning eye. The other is when you open the hall, the gallery hall, and people start coming in, and the more expert people look at it, and the way they look at it, the way they admire it, you are happy. Now, let's not talk about it in the sense that, oh, it's the ego who is like, oh, yes, my work is valued. Not from that perspective, but from the perspective that Isra was saying, you come upon this place where you have like beautiful view, beautiful sunset or something, and then you come back and you tell all your friends, there is this place I discovered, it's wonderful, and you want everyone to go. And when they come back and tell you it was wonderful, you are so happy. And if you go together and you look at them, or someone is with you when you are enjoying the sunset is good because it's not something that came out of us, so that we are not claiming ownership. We're happy because the people around us are happy. We look at their face, it's as if their face mirrors the beauty of the sunlight. The more they smile and they're all, the happiness in their face is mirroring the beauty of the sunset in this example. So we look at the sunset, and as if we're looking at all the mirrors, and the more the mirrors are, like in this case, conscious human beings, we just love it because it's the same beauty and perfection that is being, the smile, the awe that we see in people's face is actually saying, yes, this is beautiful, this is amazing, this is, and we find that it is echoing what's going on inside of us. It's confirming it, and we just love that because it makes like as if on my own, the beauty that I see in the sunset is so amazing that however much I am at all, it feels it's not enough. So the more I see people enjoying it, the more I say, yes, like it is deserving of all these responses.
Naima, thank you for your text message. Would you like to speak it?
Yes, sorry, it's not like I didn't realize that I was on mute. No, I was just saying that's just as if like the king, as a metaphor, Allah, has eagerly shared all these like blessings and like gifts and things to his creation just for the sheer kindness and generosity to say, hey, this is all that I have and this is all that I can give and more. And then also at the same time, it's as if he's just doing these things for his own pleasure as well. So it's a twofold blessing or observation if you look at it. Like he can do this because he can, and he has done it because he loves us enough to share all these wonderful things. So that was just the reflection that I had.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think to follow up on that, not everything is human-centered, as Yamina reminded us earlier. So not to undo that in any way, but it's exciting from a human perspective as well, because all of a sudden you realize that you're part of this beauty reflecting project, and it isn't
connected in ways we're not always aware of, right?
Yeah. Today I was reading something else, and it was saying like how human life, like social life, what humans do in history and in society today also, is so messy in some ways, and yet the idea was that it has a larger purpose. It's meant to manifest something deeper. So, and all of a sudden, our everyday life, we're running, we're doing this, and you meet this need, and the other need comes up, and the other need says, I am not met enough, and then there's this crisis, there's that situation, there's this pleasure, this way, like, and then to see all of this as part of larger, like, it's not about me. Interestingly, I and what I go through is part of revealing this beauty and this perfection, this wisdom, and to see ourselves part of that larger eternal, transcendental, whatever you want to call it, process or project. It really, Ali mentioned Adam and Eve in the beginning. It really brings it back to Adam and Eve in that sense, because why on earth you would take Adam and Eve and put them on this earth? They had everything there, and yet we also have everything here in a different way, because we are now able to, with all these challenges and everything we go through, and we not just go through, but we experience in the world and witness, it's meant for something larger. It's not
exactly. So we need to understand what that larger wisdom is, because in a sense, yes, as you said, it seems like we have everything here as well. But when we go through a crisis and when we don't like what's going on around us, we are like what? As if part of us is saying, why didn't we just stay in paradise? There is a part of us that wants to be in paradise and doesn't accept the fact that this world is messy. It's a world of contrast, and so that's part of understanding the wisdom in our creation, means in our being in this world. That's why he started with the wisdom of the world and then the wisdom in our creation, because our creation means our creation and sending down our creation on earth. Because if we were in paradise, we wouldn't have any question anyway. We don't wonder about the purpose and wisdom of anything. Subhanallah, things will start falling. So shall we stop here, or shall we carry on with at least the paragraph that comes after. So we're still in the metaphor, because we will be told what the meaning of the metaphor is in reality, inshallah. So next,
Dr. Yamin, it's 9:10 almost, so maybe we go another 20 minutes until 9:30.
Okay.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, thank you. Yes, of course. Jazakumullah khair for doing this and allowing us to come in. You guys have been doing it all along. We've been jealous. See, alhamdulillah, Allah made this situation a way for us to come in. I realized that like we're making you go and start from the very beginning again. So you're used to the metaphors. That's why, like, you know, I think everyone, like on today's discussion, because the metaphors are like, you know, are not something that we have dealt with before. It's like, you know, once we get over it, things will roll easier. I think, I know, you know, so anyway, bear with us and thank you for allowing us in.
It's like in the Quran, you know, two men, they have gardens, they have this. And we are told in the Quran, he teaches you through metaphors. So in the next paragraph, we're told, with this purpose in mind, the king, the ruler, the Rabb, started to construct a vast and majestic palace. So he's not just bringing expensive like diamonds and things and putting them on tables and that displaying them. No, he is going to show his knowledge and his art and all of these things by constructing a vast and majestic palace. You will guess that the palace is the world in the metaphor. And he divided it into magnificent apartments and dwellings and decorated it with every sort of jewel from his treasuries. So he used the jewels in particular places to decorate this palace. And with his own hand, so full of art, he adorned it with the finest and most beautiful works. He ordered it with the most subtle of the arts of his wisdom, and decked it with the miraculous works of his knowledge. So he is displaying his art, his knowledge, and at the same time, like Naima was saying, the fact that he's sharing these things and he's putting it at the service of everyone is also, there is lots of generosity here, and he's showing his consideration for the people, his love for the people, his caring. Then after completing the palace and everything within it, he set up in the palace broad tables containing the most delicious of every kind of food. So people will come, look around, enjoy everything, and at the same time, he's feeding them. It means all kinds of their needs are being met. So they have needs of, they are going to enjoy this beautiful art, this knowledge, these sciences, these amazing things. At the same time, there is also food for their physical bodies. We can understand it as food, all kinds of food you can understand here, and every sort of bounty, of blessing. So food here is literal food and all kinds of other foods. He specified an appropriate table for each group. In reality, not everyone is, there are the people who understand the human being, but there are all kinds of other beings. They all have their own gifts and blessings and foods and sustenance and everything. He set out such a magnificent, such a generous and artful banquet that it was as though the boundless, priceless bounties he spread out had come into existence through the works of 100 subtle arts. I mean, think of just the food, fruits and food before we cook them or do anything to them. Just think of all the vegetables and the fruit when they come out, the earth, they come out of trees. All of them are so artful. All of them have different colors, different textures, different taste, different smells. You can cut them. Inside they have different designs. You can put them under a microscope or something. They all have different nourishment. It's like art within art within art. Some are obvious from outside, we can see it, and many are hidden treasures. And we need, for instance, to have a sense of smell to get that hidden treasure, or we have to have sight, or to taste, we have to have a tongue, or we have to be hungry in order to taste it. Then he invited, so he's saying, all those works of art, there are within them hundreds of subtle arts. Then he invited his people and subjects from all the regions of his lands to feast and behold the spectacle. Later, the king appointed a supreme commander. The supreme commander, here there is a peace be upon him. It means as teacher, it means the prophet, alayhi salatu wassalam, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad, as teacher to make known the purposes of the palace. Because people come and they will look, and most people won't understand what's going on, since lots of things are hidden. And so there must be someone, a guide, a teacher, who will explain things to us, will tell us what's going on and what's the meaning of its contents. To describe its maker, and also all this, the palace was to describe who made it. And that's why people they buy a piece of art and they go and Google who made it, and they want to know who the person is, how he lived, where, everything about him, and it makes the piece of art more meaningful for them. So can you imagine, even in something so simple as this? So now, the more we appreciate, the more we know about the palace and its content, the more we are at awe at the amazing, the beauty, the perfection of the arts displayed within there, the more we are creating in that way, we would be curious about who the maker is, but who is the maker? And of course, in reality, we are going to be even more concerned about the maker because we are part of the art. And so this teacher, he explains the meaning of the palace, the meaning of the art, their purposes, and also he describes the maker to the people and make known to them the secrets of the palace's embellishments. He teaches what the arts within it were pointing to. What's their meaning? Why is there a diamond there, but an emerald there? They were not put there just haphazardly. Just let's have some diamonds there. Let's have. In reality, in the world, everything is put in its place for a purpose, just like in the Quran. If a word is put there and not another word, or not another place, it's always there is wisdom within wisdom within wisdom. The more you know the language, the more you will be amazed. And also, once you know the language, they will point to wisdoms that you will need to listen from the soul. You will be inspired and you will realize that the fact that those words were put in a particular place and not in another, especially like in Arabic, normally, for instance, you will say it in one way, but the Quran, it's said in another way. And you understand that it's for a reason, not one reason, but many reasons. And those many reasons, each of them points to myriads of wisdoms, potential wisdoms that we become more acquainted with, the more we start living from the heart and from the soul. So we become more open to receiving those messages that are always being sent to us, but most of the time we are not in alignment. We're not at that, how do you say, we don't resonate with them because our attention is on something totally different. So even if someone put the words in front of us, we wouldn't see it, or we would see it and say, excuse me, I have something more important to do. Because whatever we put, whatever our intention is, that is where we put our attention, and that's what we will perceive, and that's what will be our reality. And our reality is not always the reality. Sometimes it's part of it, but sometimes it's not even compatible what the reality is, because we're distorting, we may be distorting things. And that's why we need a guide, we need a teacher. And that's why in order to understand the Quran and how it relates to the world, we need the Prophet ﷺ. It's not, he's not like a postman. He brought the Quran, now I can read the Quran on my own. No, the way we are reading, it's not only about hadith, it's the way we are reading. I learned it from Imam Nursi. Imam Nursi learned it from someone. There is a chain, an untold chain of teachings that goes back to the Prophet ﷺ. Just like the reading, the reciting of the Quran. The reciting of the Quran has been, because it's, you have to recite. Then when you get the ijaza, when you get the diploma, or whatever it's called, you will have the chain of names from you to your teacher, his teacher, always back to the Prophet ﷺ, then to the angel Gabriel. But in other reading the Quran, not reciting it, no one wrote down, because everyone was, I mean, lots of people were reading, but there is a, how do you say ma'nawi? Isra, how would you say ma'nawi? Silsila ma'nawiya?
Spiritual?
Sorry?
Spiritual?
Link.
Spiritual lineage?
It's a lineage. People learned from each other.
Chain, maybe.
Chain.
Yeah, it's a chain, but that chain is not the chain that you see. Where is the chain? It's, but if there are people teaching in a certain way, they all got it from someone. And when you go back, it will always go back to the Prophet ﷺ. So that's why he said the teacher, and so he teaches the secrets of the palace embellishment, what the arts within it were pointing to, because everything is an ayah, it points to something, and to explain the well-set jewels, what the meaning were, and the harmonious embroideries, to explain to those who entered the palace the way in which they indicated the perfections and the art of the owner, the palace's owner, and to inform them of the correct conduct in beholding those arts and those beauties and those perfection, and to explain if the official ceremonies as the king who did not appear, like the king is not there, but they are telling them about who the king is, who didn't wish them to be. The teacher and instructor had an assistant in each area. So the assistant, there are lots of prophets first, messengers, and also there are warathatul anbiya, the inheritors, those people who learn from the
spiritual chain.
From the spiritual chain, from the prophet, and are sharing with others. They are the assistants. So here the apartments are not only in space, but in reality it's going to be in space and in time. In each period of time, there will always be people who are sharing that wisdom with others. So those are the assistants. So the teacher and the instructor had an assistant in each area of the palace, while he himself remained in the largest apartment among his students, making the following announcement to all the spectators. He told them, so this is what the teacher told them. So far, are we good? We can just read what he said under the first group, and we'll leave it there. And next week, if you read the first group and the second group, if you read the whole metaphor and stop at where the explanation of the metaphor is, inshallah, because that's how we do normally. We carry on the same, for instance, the same 11 words, we'll carry on until we finish it. And usually we are not about like when we need to finish it, because it's not about finishing, it's about understanding and benefiting, inshallah.
So
good so far? Yeah, please go ahead. I'm just speaking because no one is saying anything. Reality, so, everyone would be speaking. I don't know why they are quiet.
So I'm trying to reword it in a way that makes sense to me, and I know. So like if like the way that it's making sense to me is that like knowing the true story, I know it's still a metaphor, but then that there has always been a Rabb who possessed like all the beauty, all the wisdom, all the abundance, all the vastness, mercy, compassion, wealth, everything. And his Abed have been enjoying his endless, generous sustenance of their soul and bodies, and were cognizant of their Ubudiyya and his Rubayya, as well as in total of his vast, magnificent attributes. They felt like VIP guests hosted by the one and only possessor of all. But after a while, they got used to enjoying his ongoing rububiyyah to themselves and every other beings, and stopped being amazed by his whole creation. And then they started feeling like abandoned, lost children, living in a world with no meaning and given lives with no purpose.
Yeah, I can't follow that. Like, what is it referring to?
Yeah.
Like, Adam and Eve being...
yes. So this is, and then this all-wise Rabb, out of his total generosity and compassion, created a space, which is this world, for them to get first-hand experience in knowing him through an always changing and evolving display of the majesty of his vast kingdoms and wonders, marvels of knowledge and magnitudes. When I say it this way, it makes sense. Like, like...
That's fine, but I have a question to you.
Yeah.
How do we know that in paradise, Adam and Eve were able to see all the majesty and so on? Because there are no contrasts, and maybe that's the part of the story, that they had to come here to see all the...
So, and that's the part where I take it from one ayah that I don't know if that ayah, like the ayah where God says, I have taken from your backs, like all of your offspring, and said, am I not your Lord? And they all like were cognizant of him. And then God says like, so that, yes. So for me, this is the time that we were cognizant. And then the time that Adam and Eve, they got used to it, then that's when they got used to it.
We need to confirm.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
people say, no, I was not. I didn't even ask him to create me and to bring me here.
Yeah, I don't want to take the microphone, but that's how I think of it, like that we were created, we're cognizant, we're all in front of God, we knew who he, and then when Adam and Eve part came, that was the part of getting used, getting sort of losing connection, feeling like they were worried about eternity, and that's how Satan came to them. Eat from this, so that worries, now they felt like, why were they worried? Why did they feel like that worry is like being disconnected from their Lord. And now, the Lord is creating like all of this, Allah's creating all of these ways for us to know him like firsthand and to come back to him, because from the beginning, like we knew him, but we just forgot, or we just got away. No.
Did you have something to share with us? Your voice is not coming through, Huda. Okay. We have 1 minute left. I can't believe it. It went by fast. But we can take some more comments and questions, maybe, inshallah.
Let's stop reading, but if you have comment, question, anything to share, please go ahead.
Just what I was going to add, I guess, emphasize the point where being invited, right? That is beautiful. I think in the metaphor, just highlighting the honor to be, just the fact that you are invited, in all of this, it just brings warmth.
Yeah, we're guests here.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so and then
we can stop here inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين نستغفر الله نستغفر الله نستغفر الله العظيم الكريم الرحيم الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ونتوب إليه سبحانه لله الفاتحة. Inshallah, Fatiha will be the beginning of our new reflecting on this, whatever we learned. So Fatiha is the opening, the starting. So we'll end with the Al-Fatiha.